to everyone. And we are here again for a second lesson of the TRACE project dedicated to the best practices SMEs especially, but also to all the other SMEs who want to join this additional in-depth program for enhancing your skills and capacity for learning together and becoming really the next champions of sustainability in the tourism sector. Today we are working on a specific topic that is the environmental behavior of Generation Z or Gen Z, pro-environmental behavior. So which are the attitudes, actions, and implications of the interest of the new generation towards environmental issues. So we see that the environmental matters are becoming more and more important for the new generations, also in the choice of their trips, of their tourism itineraries, and the tourism accommodation and services. So today we have Professor Fevzi Okomos with us. Just for those who still don't know him, he is a professor at Rosen College of Hospitality Management at the University of Central Florida in Orlando, US. And he is an expert since many years in sustainable tourism, working with companies, destination management organizations and researchers. And he is today with us to talk about the pro-environmental behavior of Gen Z and how to leverage this as an opportunity for sustainable tourism SMEs. So without further delay, Professor Fevzi Okomos, the floor is yours.
Good morning. Okay. First of all, thanks for having me here. I'm very honored and pleased to present this. This is an interesting presentation. I have two daughters, and they are Gen Z. So lots of personal experiences as well, because many of our students, very high majority of them are Gen Z. In Europe, they call it Gen Z. I think in the US, we call it Gen Z. Thank you very much, and let's move forward. By the end of this session, our attendees should be able to describe characteristics of Gen Z, understand the environmental values and attitudes of Gen Z, and identify key drivers and barriers to pro-environmental behavior among this generation. And we will have some real world examples of Gen Z's engagement in sustainability and environmental management practices. And also, we will discuss implications for small and medium-sized businesses in our industry in hospitality and tourism, and also offer some strategies to engage Gen Z in green initiatives, environmental management practices. And then we will discuss some strategies on how SMEs can integrate Gen Z preferences into environmental management practices. Okay. Gen Z, why Gen Z is important? Born approximately between 1995 to 2009, there are different, some references refer a little bit later than to 2009, some refer earlier, but more or less, let's say from 1995 to 2009. But why they are important? Number one, they represent over 30% of the global population, and they are right now studying at colleges, and then also entering. They are in the workforce, and some of them are now managers, right? So very interesting and very important generation. They are known for their digital nativity, inclusivity, and strong moral compass. And Gen Z is critical in driving and demanding environmental change. And they are very active on social media virtually. This webinar, we will talk about their attitudes, behavior, motivations, and then implications across sectors, especially in hospitality and tourism. Before we talk specifically about Gen Z, this table summarizes all different generations: silent generation, baby boomers, Gen X, Gen Y, and Gen Z. And of course, after 2009, we have Gen Alpha. They are also an interesting segment, interesting generation. But if we really look at Gen Z, their values, they community loyalty, they value, and they are cynical and they mistrust authorities, right? You have to convince them really. And also in terms of, what happened? Sorry. They focus on security, their own security, and they value learning and growth. That's really, really important. They're not really traditional in terms of their career. They want to learn and then really have fast career growth. This is really interesting. And you have to reward them for learning and knowledge even before they learn. I have seen this at home and with my students as well. They want to see what they will get if they do certain things. And so reward is really, really important. And lifestyle for them, unlike previous generations, they don't make any distinction between work and life. So they see work and life all together, right? So these are some very interesting characteristics. Of course, we can go over silent generation, baby boomers, Gen X, and Gen Y. There are maybe more similarities between Gen Y and Gen Z, but previous generations, there are certain differences between Gen Z and previous generations. And let's go over and then some more explanations, examples. According to research statistics, basically almost 1.9 billion, 1.8 billion globally, we have Gen Zs. And we call them I generation, post millennials, generation connected, .com kids. And they are connected to the internet and the world 24 hours, 7 days. And they are good at multitasking. They spend an average of almost 6 hours a day on mobile devices, may spend about 10 hours engaging with online content daily. That means if they spend 10 hours while they are working, they are still working, they are using their cell phones and technology and multitasking. They love watching social media, YouTube videos, but also some of them create such videos and social media content, and they are value driven and prefer flexibility in terms of their travel plans, in terms of their career, in terms of their weekly, daily work schedules. And apparently, when you talk to Gen Zs, including Gen Alpha, they're very stressed, they are worried. Compared to other generations, somehow they claim to be more stressed. And this is a sad part here. Their attention span is less than 8 seconds. So if you don't get the message to them in 3 to 5 seconds, you lose them immediately. They're lost. So you have 8 seconds maximum. And then they have this slogan, you only live once, YOLO. So they say, enjoy life, you only live once. Okay, this is their motto. In terms of their mindset, environmental mindset, what's happening? Okay. Gen Z ranks climate change among their top global concerns. They view sustainability as a lifestyle choice, and they really value. And about 75% of them worry about the future of the planet, and businesses should do something about it. And this mindset influences their travel choices in travel, hospitality, and brand loyalty. But because their budgets are not huge, they are not wealthy travelers, they expect businesses to practice environmental management practices, but they are not willing to pay more further extra for environmental management practices. So there is a dilemma. So SMEs can attract Gen Z by implementing authenticity and transparency into their environmental management practices, and also involving Gen Zs in their management practices in sustainability efforts. How can we influence their behavior, Gen Z's behavior? We know parents and family members influence their attitude and behavior. But what we know, social media and their friends, their groups influence their attitude, knowledge, and behavior more than anything. Historically, kids do not listen to their parents that much. They listen to social media and their peers more than others. Of course, we must include materials in our education on climate issues, sustainability, and environmental management in schools' curriculum, starting from elementary school to middle school, high school, and all the way to university. And we can influence them from eco-activists and movements like Friday for Future. And also peer pressure on digital platforms. As we mentioned, they follow all these online social media. Eco-friendly behaviors can be promoted on social media, and they can develop these contents as well. They have high expectations from institutions and businesses, basically saying businesses should offer practice environmental management initiatives and then shouldn't be charging extra if needed. Okay, and basically because of technology, we have increased access to sustainability efforts and information. There are so many digital tools, apps, and rating systems. And because of also AI, they can ask and technological advances, they can access to information much faster than previous generations. And we know that Gen Zs are not generally wealthy unless they have funds from support from their parents. They have limited buying power, and they prefer eco-lodges, green certified accommodation, and plant-based menu options. And they favor businesses that use renewable energy, minimize plastic use, and support biodiversity. They use travel platforms that highlight carbon offsetting and sustainability certifications. An example here, bookdifferent.com. And also they like to, when they travel, they like to find places with organic food, organic breakfast, and zero waste tours, and so forth. So SMEs practicing these organic food or environmental management practices can promote their efforts and target Gen Zs. Okay, and Gen Z and digital advocacy. They use TikTok and Instagram frequently, so campaigns on these platforms will be very useful. And then travelers creating viral videos of eco-friendly hostels and beach cleanup. These are important. But on the other hand, I must emphasize, if a small and medium-sized business practice non-environmentally management practices, and these videos may also greatly damage the business reputation. So we have to be very careful with these. Using those social content created, posted on social media are important if they are positive. But if they are negative, it can be viral globally. So we have to be very careful. As we mentioned, businesses can benefit user-generated content showing green practices, showcasing green practices. But on the other hand, if there are any non-environmental management practices by SMEs in hospitality and tourism, they can also greatly damage the business reputation if someone would post such a thing on social media. Okay. A cafe or eco lodge featured in a Gen Z influencer post may see immediate bookings, maybe thousands, if not more. Okay. So about 73% of Gen Z expect hospitality businesses to act on sustainability. So basically, they have high expectations. And support for businesses that integrate circular economy practices, important, reusable toiletries, refill stations, waste-free dining. And SMEs that engage with sustainability earn brand loyalty and positive reviews on platforms like TripAdvisor and social media. And also one example, Eco Hotel Budapest, Italy, in a previous presentation, we gave this example, how they practice environmental management practices and such as solar energy, rainwater harvesting, and eco construction. So these are some examples would be welcomed by Gen Z. And of course, campus and community engagement, students involved in green initiatives. There can be some student clubs working on environmental management practices, and collaboration between Gen Z and local tourism, local SMEs on green initiatives, innovations will be really a good way to promote the business and learn from Gen Z in terms of their expectations. And student organized events supporting eco-friendly businesses. Again, SMEs can work with universities and schools on these initiatives. And Gen Z interns at Eco Youth Hostel in Germany organize guest engagement sustainability projects. If you have Gen Z employees, you can initiate such efforts, right? So we need to look at what happens, some barriers to pro-environmental action. So first of all, it's not easy maybe for some owners and managers of small and medium-sized businesses to understand Gen Z mindset and how to communicate with them. I observe my daughters communicating with their friends, either online, social media, or on one-on-one. Sometimes they use their own slangs, own examples. So it takes time for us to understand other generations, how they communicate. So we sometimes need a dictionary, a translator to understand how they communicate their expectations. And also there are misunderstandings and conflicts between Gen Z and other generations. So we need to work hard on understanding Gen Z's expectations. And budget limitations, of course, implementing green practices requires some funds and resources, and SMEs may not have those resources. And we also know crises and pandemics and often have financial implications, and sometimes SMEs are not often very profitable, and investing in environmental management practices, of course, require funds and resources. And we also know businesses, owners and managers have busy schedules, and they don't have enough time to work on environmental management practices and understanding Gen Z's expectations. And there may be limited knowledge about certifications, Green Key, EarthCheck, and perceived contradiction between comfort, luxury, and sustainability. We often say, we may think, luxury businesses cannot implement sustainable practices, environmental management practices, but there are always ways to implement. Customers, when they travel, yes, we may use more water or we may not act environmentally friendly, but we can train and educate them. And especially during high seasons, there are difficulties in maintaining standards. And during low seasons, also, you don't have many employees and you're only trying to minimize your cost. These may be potential barriers. And we know switching to renewable energy can have high upfront costs, changing equipments or the renovation of the building and making repairs can be very costly. So these are the barriers to pro-environmental action, right? Let's look at some examples. I'm sure in your local areas you can find some examples, and some of our attendees, participants may be using. For example, a greenhouse B&B in Italy run by young Gen Z entrepreneurs using solar energy, composting, and local sourcing. And then another hotel in Chile embraced sustainable architecture and eco tours and popular among Gen Z travelers. And Eco Youth Hostel in Germany partners with schools and students to organize sustainability projects and eco education for guests. And then a hotel in Milano, in Italy, zero emissions hotel powered by renewables, and it's an ideal model for similar businesses. I'm sure our attendees, participants, partners have more examples on these. These are some examples for us to remember. Okay. Some implications for educators and policymakers in terms of environmental management practices and Gen Z. Basically, we should integrate sustainability, environmental management practices in our education, in our curriculum, almost in every course. And then families, we need to have TV programs or social media campaigns to emphasize sustainability and environmental management practices, not just in small and medium-sized businesses, but everywhere, including home. Provide funding and toolkits for SMEs and to work with young youth groups on green practices. And then encourage accreditation and local government support for certifications. And then also we need to understand that Gen Zs are agents of sustainability. They value sustainability and they appreciate green practices. And then we need to create actions and programs to integrate Gen Zs and previous generations, not Gen Z, but also other generations. And businesses provide transparency, eco policies, certifications, and then highlight how much a business value in our vision statement, mission statement, and values. And then we need to involve Gen Z staff or interns in green initiative planning and implementation. Not necessarily just Gen Z, but all staff members. Leverage Gen Z's digital fluency. If you want to create a social campaign, online campaign on your business, you work with them and highlight environmental management initiatives, and create loyalty programs that reward eco-friendly behavior, and give discounts for declining daily linen changes, and encourage food waste reductions. Offer regular training on environmental management practices, and as we mentioned earlier, onboarding new employees coming in, we need to keep instilling and training them about the business's environmental management practices. And acknowledge and reward achievements, and then tell stories. Okay, we can reward individuals, we can reward team members, teams, specific teams or departments, or the whole organizations. So what we know, future trends, basically, we have seen a lot of startups entering ecotourism and green accommodation. Gen Zs are active. Digital apps connecting Gen Z travelers with ethical hotels, green restaurants, we know. Eco-volunteerism, combination of travel with conservation. We have seen a lot of initiatives on these. So basically, if you are an eco hotel, let's say eco environmentally friendly business, you can invite interns to volunteer or work for you. Okay, and aligning with the United Nations sustainability goals, we need to highlight which goals, sustainability goals, your business is trying its best to accomplish. And then also we need to integrate AI tools for tracking carbon footprints and water usage and energy use in our operations. So after giving some best practices, I have two tasks. Businesses, SMEs in hospitality and tourism can form a task force, a team, a committee, consist of Gen Z employees to offer at least 3 specific environmental management initiatives. Okay, so you can form a committee and say, come up with 3 initiatives, 3 projects. And then also they need to come up with specific SMART goals for each initiative and a plan, and then start implementing one. Another task can be, you can ask each department, maybe let's say housekeeping, maybe restaurant, maybe kitchen, maybe engineering, and in each department to propose at least one specific environmental management initiative. And each department should come up with a plan summarizing key steps, key actors, required resources, and the deadlines. So with SMART goals. And whichever team accomplishes their goals, you can reward individuals, you can reward those teams or department, and make announcements and celebrate and create stories and so forth. These can be some fun initiatives. So moving forward, as there are almost 1.9 billion globally, they are about 30% of global population, our future current employees, future managers. They are very, very important. Gen Zs demand proactive, authentic, tech-savvy approach to sustainability. And SMEs that embrace these expectations can increase visibility, loyalty, and competitiveness. And we must target Gen Z as work with them, value them as our employees, future managers, and current managers, and then 30% of our customers. So having discussed this, I have a question for our participants, partners. What changes can your business or program implement values? This may be the question, like, what can we do to engage our Gen Z employees, our Gen Z customers? All right. Maybe we identify two SMART goals for our employees, Gen Z employees, and two maybe our Gen Z customers. We can start with small steps and then later continue improving, right? I stop here and thank you again for listening. And then we will welcome all your comments, and especially if you have any best practices, it will be great to learn from you as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Okumus. We are very glad of having you discussing about the Generation Z or Z. Yeah, this is another very important topic for our companies participating in TRACE and enhancing their skills and capacities. This is an opportunity, especially for sustainable SMEs. So sometimes company owners and managers could ask themselves why doing all this effort for becoming more sustainable, not only for the environment, of course, but it can become really a business opportunity, a competitiveness factor for companies, especially in this time when we all have more consciousness, more awareness about environmental matters. So I thank you again for this lesson, and I invite you and all the SMEs participating in TRACE to follow also the next lesson that will be recorded soon. So for now, thank you very much, and see you to the next lesson.